What's going on, y'all? It's the Mobile Bay Prepper. It's July 4th, 2026. Just out here in the greenhouse, just watering my cacti and desert plants. And just, it's 4th of July, and I was just out here thinking about things and just where we're at in this country. A lot of people are celebrating, 4th of July, and they don't even realize what they're celebrating. And it's sad because, you know, this, this country was founded on fighting tyranny and fighting, excessive taxes. And here we are, in 2026, we're dealing with tyranny and excessive taxes. And it's just crazy that people celebrate and they don't even know why this country was founded 250 years ago today. This is a very important day, 250 years that we founded this country, that people, sign their name on the bottom of a declaration and risk their lives, their livelihood, their property, their reputation. They were willing to risk it all, and here we are, 250 years later. We're just accepting that it's okay to excessively tax and tyrannize the people, and people just don't even know what the hell they're living in. They think this is normal, and it's not. And it's sad. I know this is the greatest country on earth. I agree with that. It is. I at least think it is. It could be a lot worse here, but it also could be a lot better. And our founding fathers signed that document to make it a lot better. And the road we've taken over the past 250 years, I think it would make them ashamed of us, that we would have accepted all this tyranny and taxation and bullshit that we've accepted. And it kind of saddens me. It does. But I look back at the Roman history, and they did the same thing. After several hundred years of the freedoms that they had, they did the same thing. It's like they get so successful that the governments, they start to devalue the currency that they have, and the money. They start to just devalue the money that they were using, gold and silver coinage, and then they try to build this massive empire based on phony money. And then it lasts for a while, but then after a while it just it collapses. And that's basically the same thing we're doing now. We started off as gold and silver as our coinage, beginning of this country. The first 50, 60, 70 years, whatever it was, and even into the late 1800s, we had gold and silver as our coinage. And it's like it's got diluted with these notes, these bank notes. We let these bankers come in here and kind of give us money substitutes, and it just kind of slowly degrades. You start off with money, and then you end up with currency, which is just a receipt for money, and then it just kind of slowly just kind of dilutes the currency supply. When you start off with real money, which is gold and silver coinage, over time you dilute that with receipts for money, and slowly over a period of time it just gets to a point where you're using nothing but the receipts for money, which is the currency. And then people, they forget the correlation between money and currency, and then you're just using the paper notes, and then just the digital remnants of the paper notes. So this is where we're at. It's just our country is so diluted, and with the money that we use, this is where we're at now, and this is what happens. So there's a reckoning coming. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. So people that remember what real money is, I think, are going to be okay when this all falls apart. It's just a matter of knowing what history is, and researching what real money is, and realizing this is not the first time this has happened. This has happened over and over again throughout history with the Roman Empire, probably way even before that. It probably happened way before that with the Greeks and maybe even the Egyptians. I don't know, but I know the most documented history, with the hyperinflation is the Romans. And it's just the same shit, that keeps happening over and over again. Back then they would dilute their money with base metals like copper. They would mix it in with their gold and silver coinage. Now, in the recent history, we just dilute it with, we just print out paper notes, and now it's just digital. It's like not even real. It's not even paper. So it's just fantasy. It's all fantasy, and that's all this country is now, just fantasy. But the few that are left, in this country that remembers how great it could be and how good it should be, there are some people here that do remember how great it could be and that it was. I'm one of them, or at least I try to be. I haven't forgotten that gold and silver is money. And I try to, especially silver. Silver is the people's money. It's always been the people's money. Throughout the ages, for 5,000-6,000 years, it's been the people's money. And because you can't print silver, it has a limited quantity. It has over 10,000 industrial uses, even in today's age. I mean, it's just a very undervalued metal, and it is real money. And I think that people have forgotten that because they're so complacent. In today's world, especially in our world in America, we've had it so good for so long that people just take everything for granted. And I love my country. When I was 22 years old, I went over to Iraq and I thought I was fighting for this country. Obviously, it was a bunch of bullshit, and that's a whole nother story. But I was willing to take up arms and go over there and fight for my country, what I thought I was doing. And I paid dearly for it, mentally. Like obviously, in the past 25 years or so since the Iraq War, we've learned a lot of it was a bunch of bullshit. But that's another story for another day. We've got I think a huge crash coming in this country. I think the stock market's going to crash. I think this AI bubble is going to crash. And it's just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor, but I think it's going to crash. I think people have over-invested in this AI bubble, and just with the circumstances that we're under, just how great we've had it in this country, I think that people have just over-invested in things that they think are real and they're not. And I think the reality is going to come bite us in the ass. I've tried to keep my life simple. My wife and I, we both try to keep our life simple. We don't live like ballers or nothing like that. I mean, you see how I live. I love my plants, and I come out here and enjoy myself, feed my cacti and my garden and my chickens, and we try to live a simple life, especially right now while we can see that there's a crash coming, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. Maybe I'm crazy, and I hope I am crazy. I hope that nothing ever crashes. I hope that I'm just nuts, and I will be glad to go to the grave, just being that old man that thought everything was going to crash, and I was wrong, and, everything's great. I hope that's the case. But I don't think I'm wrong. I guess nobody ever thinks they're wrong, but whatever. It's fine. Ain't gonna hurt nothing. But anyway, I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, I think a lot of people need to wake up, and they're just not gonna wake up until shit hits the fan, and then they're gonna have to wake up, unfortunately, and then people like me are gonna have to try to help them. I mean, that's just, you know, just the way it is. Try to help them grow food. I mean, I've had a horrible year this year growing food, you know, in my garden, but I do the best I can, you know. Some years you have great years with growing in your garden, and some years you just have horrible years, especially with all the heat we've had. It has not been good this year. We've had a lot of rain, and then we've had a lot of heat, and for some reason, like my garden is just, I don't know what's going on with it, but it's not producing like it should. And I've tried to fertilize like I should, and I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it, but all I can do is the best I can, and you know, it is what it is. But maybe if when I do my fall garden, it'll be a lot better after this heat's over with. We've had a lot of heat here, man. It's been extra hot this June and in early July. It's been really, really hot. It just seems like it's been more hot than it usually is, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's just me thinking, but anyway, I don't know. I was just out here on the 4th of July. I've got my Betsy Ross flag flying on the front of my house. I usually fly it on the 4th of July. To me, the Betsy Ross flag is the original American flag. It's the true American flag of the Revolution. That's the only American flag I fly around my house. That's just me. It's just my opinion. You can fly whatever flag you want. You know, this is America. You can fly whatever flag you want around your house. But around my house, I like to fly the Betsy Ross. That's the flag of the American Revolution. And that's just what I like around my house. So, anyway, that's just my thoughts, you know, about this Independence Day. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my day. I'm about to smoke some meat, some sausage, and some chicken, and some steaks on my smoker with some pecan wood, and I'm gonna finish drinking some more beers, and I'm gonna have a good rest of my day. So I hope y'all have a good Independence Day, and y'all take care and do the best you can out there preparing, you know. Stay prepared and keep your eye out on what's going on around the world, because there's crazy shit going on, and all we can do is what we can do. So, happy Independence Day, 4th of July. We'll see y'all.